BWI Daily Edition. We're talking about something fun, another top 5 list, the top 5 players on the Penn State football roster with upside. I'm your host, Thomas Frank Carr, and I want to do something fun today because the last couple days have been pretty heavy. We've talked about some pretty serious stuff when it comes to name, image, and likeness, the future of college football perception, and of course, conference realignment, which sparked the whole thing. So if you want to hear those conversations, subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts and to our YouTube channel where you can get both places the daily edition. Today, though, the fun stuff, we are going to be talking about upside. So these are players that come in with the physical skill sets to be prototypes at their position. This doesn't mean that their technical skills at the position are great yet. These are unrealized, untapped gems of football players. So guys that have already realized that potential. Jaquan Brisker has already realized most of his potential. He's not going to be on this list. Guys that don't have the physical prototypes of the position, that aren't the biggest, aren't the fastest, aren't the strongest, they're not going to be on this list. And I want to give a shout out, honorable mention to Landon Tengwall, because 6'6", 320-pound freshman, he's a prototype in size, but he just missed the list. A little bit lacking from the speed element, from a little bit from the mobility element, but he's going to be a really good football player, and depending on where he lands, he could be a prototype of a sort at that position along the offensive line. But these are the best of the best, the guys that I have picked out from the Penn State football roster that could, if everything breaks their way, be superstars at their position. Coming in at number 5, a guy that was added late to the class of 2021 for Penn State football, Iowa Western Community College transfer Jordan Vandenberg, 6'3", 292 pounds, and played defensive end. And honestly, I don't know how he's this quick, this explosive, while being that big. He's a freaky athlete when you look at what he's able to do physically as a chase player at that size, playing defensive end. Now, he can play that defensive end position, that strong side defensive end for Penn State in the future, or where he might be the prototype is at 3 technique, because at that size, he has the chance to play a little bit undersized and still win with quickness, power, and explosive ability, and he might not need all of the size and strength to win at that position. If you can do that, that allows you to be faster and as big as everyone at your position, making you a prototype. So the reason he's number 5 on this list is that he doesn't have the longest arms in the world. Good length, I think acceptable length, but not the prototype of what you're looking for with that guy that can win the engagement simply with his arm length and pad level. He can do a lot of things really well, just misses out on that one, but still comes in at number 5, a guy that I'm excited to see how he develops at Penn State at that 3 technique, where Penn State has been looking for that prototype penetrator at the 3 technique for quite some time now. Coming in at number 4, with, again, apologies to Zachy Wheatley, another fast, big corner on the roster. Length is important, and I don't know that I've seen a condor play football like Joey Porter Jr. Super long arms, good size for good frame. Again, like Vandenberg, 195 pounds, so he's already close to the prototype size for the position, and he's not even filled out completely yet. A guy that can play with speed and can stay with receivers, and those long arms allow him to jam, redirect, and play physical at the line of scrimmage. He's a complete package from the physical standpoint. The only thing missing, some questions about the top end speed. Now, from a production standpoint, he's got to put it all together as a player. We've seen some flashes where he's almost gotten to the ball. He's almost broken on the ball in flight, and he's just waiting on that recognition to unlock all of his physical skills. But Joey Porter Jr., I think everybody can see absolutely how talented this young man is and how he can be a really high-end corner if it all comes together for him, because the physical aspects are all there. Coming in at number 3 on our players with upside, I don't know if I'm breaking my own rules here, but we're going to go with left tackle Rasheed Walker. He's played for Penn State for 2 seasons now, yes, but I don't think we've seen the full potential of Rasheed Walker yet. Last couple seasons, he's kind of come on slowly at times, but the flash of the high end is there. He came out of high school as a long, physical offensive lineman with a great frame and the quickness to be a left tackle. Now, I think there's been some lack of motivation at times. We haven't seen him play to his true potential so far, but James Franklin says this spring that has changed and the light has come on for Rasheed.
I saw Rasheed coming out in the field, and I just stopped him. I just said, I'm just super proud of him, in really every area, how far he's grown and matured. And his approach right now has just been fantastic. He's practicing really hard. Winter workouts, he was great. His leadership with the younger players, he's just in a really good place. He's practicing hard. He's working hard. And we got a good mix of experienced guys on the offensive line and some young, talented guys. So I've been very pleased with Rasheed, and I think he's got a chance to have a special year.
Again, we can see the flashes of it from Walker in true pass sets, according to PFF, meaning plays where there's no play action, there's no RPO. The offense has to set up and throw the football, and everyone knows it's coming. He was 26th in the nation with a 96.7 pass blocking efficiency in those true pass sets. So it's just about making sure that the consistency is there and that he consistently plays up to that size and that potential as a pass blocker. As a run blocker, we've already seen the benefits of being 6'6", 320 pounds, and having the physicality to move people off the ball. He can be a guy that is an early draft pick if he plays up to all of that skill. So we got number 5, got number 4, number 3, now number 2. A guy that Penn State football fans have been super excited about for a while, but we have not quite seen the breakout yet, Theo Johnson, the tight end from Canada, and oh my goodness, has he developed. This was what he posted on Twitter as his 40 time this offseason. He's 6'6", 250 plus pounds. That is a modern day tight end, ladies and gentlemen. 6'6" and running a 4.51. That is ridiculous. That sort of size, that length, that speed, the fluidity. He can develop into a true number 1 tight end with the potential to be everything you're looking for. That's what you're looking for at that position. The productivity, the route running, and the impact on the offense has to come around eventually. But it is hard. I'll say this. It is hard to be the number 1 target on your team as a tight end in college. Not every offense is set up to make you the primary target. It's hard to force feed targets to the tight end at times. So having all of those skills and the fact that the skills there are rare makes Theo Johnson kind of a unique fit in most college football offenses where you're designing things for receivers and people in the flat and not necessarily trying to go over the middle with the football, attacking those vulnerable parts of the defense up the seam or over the middle or between the safeties, because in general, not every quarterback can do that. Theo Johnson has a ton of upside, a ton of potential, and can be the next great Penn State tight end, although the entire offense, the entire tight end room has upside. Tyler Warren and Bretton Strange both ran a 4.6 if you saw on that. Bretton Strange 200 and almost 60 pounds, and 6'6" Tyler Warren, also a big physical presence with length at that position. So Theo Johnson is not alone when it comes to guys with potential at that tight end position. They may be the most talented physically when it comes to potential room in the country amongst tight ends. And now coming to number 1 on our list of guys, of players that have upside. Number 1, a guy that I don't think a lot of people really know all that much about, Devon Townley Jr. He is a true freshman at Penn State at defensive end. Now, Penn State has a lot of guys that have size and length at that defensive end position. They've got a lot of guys that have that prototype length at 6'6". Bryce Mastella, 6'6", 230, still growing into his body. 6'5", Rodney McGraw with 254 pounds, doesn't have the movement skills quite of these other guys. And of course, Smith Vilbert, who is going to see the field this year, 6'6", 250 himself, getting towards 260. There are a lot of guys on film that have that. But Devon Townley comes into school at almost 6'7", with super length, super explosiveness off the football, and arrives angry in the backfield. This is Devon Townley. in his highlights. So I'm just playing, I don't normally do this, playing the raw highlights off of his highlight reel, because after watching his film, this is mostly what it is. Like, he has an impact on the game at this level on a consistent basis. He is a penetrating, big-bodied defensive end with the quickness to make plays on the football. He was also a late add in the class of 2021. I think it was December. So right before everything, like, he was a late add in the recruiting process. And then, I don't know, a bunch of stuff happened and we all kind of forgot about recruiting when the world shut down. But Devon Townley Jr. has a ton of upside. Also, he's a basketball player, and he's not just a guy who stands in the post. Look at his skills as a basketball player, that movement ability at 6'6". Now, one thing I'll say is sometimes he can look a little squirrely, a little, I don't know, tall in space. But even then, as you can see as a basketball player, he manipulates the small, short areas really well. And at 250 pounds already, there's not a lot of projection. There's not a lot of he needs to gain weight. It's all there right now. So then it becomes the coaching and the development and the ability to use his hands, to use that length, to shed, to get to the football, and to make big plays at defensive end. So yes, there are a bunch of players coming in the class of 2022, but the guy that I think right now with the most upside on the Penn State football roster, Devon Townley Jr. in the class of 2021. Don't forget him. And don't forget, you need to subscribe to Blue White Illustrated. We're bringing you more content this year. Training camp starts next Friday. We're almost exactly a week away if you're listening to this today on Thursday. So make sure you subscribe to here on our YouTube page, wherever you get your podcasts, and of course, bwi.rivals.com/subscribe.